So it's Valentine's Day. Did you think I was going to talk about anything else? No argument at all. Okay. Somebody wants candy. Love. Love. Such a powerful notion, you know. Poets have been working on it for 1,000 years, trying to figure out what this thing is. I think that the thing that influenced me the most about love was one day that we had, when we were still out in Fairview in our little first location, that we had a visiting shaman from Latin America come, and he posed an idea, and it just captured me. And that was that love is the glue that holds together the universe. Now, I know enough about physics to know that scientists are still trying to figure out what holds together the universe. Why not love? I thought that was a very powerful idea, so I have always kept that thought. I know that love is not something that we give and get, that it's absolute, it's everywhere. And the only other thing I know that's absolute and infinite is God. So maybe love and God are the same thing. Maybe being aware of the divine presence is what allows us to open our hearts to another and feel those feelings. Those feelings are not love. They're affection, they're a joy, they're excitement. There's so many things you can feel. But love is something bigger than that. And I find that when I look at lists of emotions, there's no listing of love, because love is not an emotion. We react to it with emotion. But what I want to share with you this morning, the reason I titled this talk Learning from Love, is that I have found in my life that being in a loving relationship has been probably the most powerful way that I have learned in my life. And, you know, I started off like most people. I had a high school sweetheart, and I learned from her, mostly about sex. She was a little older than me. Then I got married when I was I think I was still 19, to a woman that at that point was 32. More opportunities to learn. Those were harder lessons for the most part, but I learned a lot. But I have to say that finding Barbara is the thing that has taught me most about love. Can't look at her yet. So what I want to do today is I sat down and thought about what great lessons have I gained from being in this incredible relationship with this woman. I stopped at 9, mostly because I know we're not going to have time to do a whole lot more than that, but I want to go through the 9 things that came to mind that I think have helped me be a better person because of being in relationship with Barbara. So here we go. Without question, I choose Barbara first. I choose her no matter what's going on. She's number one. And everything else follows that. And that has really worked for me. And she does the same. She used to walk around telling people that if I wanted to move to Detroit, she would move there with me. I don't want to move to Detroit. But for being willing to do that, obviously at the time Detroit was not really high on either of our lists, but the point was to demonstrate that it didn't matter where we were as long as we were together, that was the most important thing. Barbara's watched my back so many times. You know, I did that stint of being a leader in our international organization for 6 years, and I traveled a lot. And Barbara was here doing it. In fact, that particular video that we watched this morning, at the beginning of that video, she says, "John's not been here for 3 weeks. I thought you might like a list." Because I often work with lists. And that just shows how she had my back. I didn't have to give anything up to do what I went off to do. I had a strong desire to fix the world, which obviously is a fantasy. But she was always here covering for me and taking care of things, no matter what it was. And I have made it my point to be there for her. especially with the challenges that her body is facing these days. But I remember also that when I had a ruptured disc in my back and I couldn't get out of bed, that she would bring me food and feed me, that she would help me to the bathroom, that she was always there doing whatever needed to be done and running this place at the same time. So she set quite a model for me when it was my turn to pick up the slack. So Barbara comes first. Now, this sounds like it just has to do with Barbara, but it really doesn't. What I've learned from that is that when I'm with another person, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. I give them my complete and undivided attention, as though they are the only person that I want to have any conscious awareness of. I'm totally focused on them until Barbara calls. But during most of that time, I am absolutely present with them. And I find that in any relationship, that is essential. That when we do that, what we're doing is we're strengthening our connections. And that it really helps make everyone understand how important they are in life. This has really worked for me. The second one is I don't need to fix or solve anybody's problems. I learned this from Barbara. I don't need to fix her. She's not broken. And you may say, well, she has these health challenges. That's her body. She's not broken. There's nothing about her that isn't whole and complete. Does she have some challenges? Of course she does. But it's not her. So when I see her, I don't see anything broken. I don't see anything wrong or lost. And there's nothing for me to do but love her. And when I say that, what I mean is being aware of the love that we have that is with us at all times. So that my heart is as wide open as it can get, so that I can know the deepest truth about who I am and who she is. And know that that connection that we have it can't be dissolved. It can't go away. It never will. Even at the point that we don't have bodies, it won't go away. But right now we have bodies, so we enjoy them and we work on them and we hope to see them as functional as possible. But it doesn't matter when love's concerned. Love is the essence, and that's where I work from. So Barbara's perfect in every way. Something I've learned about taking this out to everyone is never to have sympathy for another person and what they're going through. Because sympathy actually is a process of having someone be below you. Oh, the poor dear. And it makes us feel superior. So I've learned not to be sympathetic. I can be empathetic, but not sympathetic, because that creates a hierarchy that I don't want to play. Because that divine presence that dwells in me dwells in you. And if I see you as anything less than that, I'm the one that loses. So I won't go there. I won't go there with Barbara, and I won't go there with you. And that makes my life work really well. That's number 2. Number 3, I share my opinion when I'm asked and when I seek agreement. Let me explain. We often find ourselves, me being one of them for sure, love to share what's on our mind. And what I found in my relationship with Barbara is that that's not necessary. Even though I am a hopeless extrovert, sharing things that are on my mind are my business. And I don't have to burden Barbara with that. That's the starting point on this. What I find, though, is that when I seek agreement with Barbara, that I have to share my opinion on something. When I started, I didn't do that. What I would do is I would say, Barbara, what do you think about this? And she later told me that she often didn't have an opinion on that until I asked. But she would, right in front of me, being the introvert that she is, she would develop her thoughts on that and have an opinion. And then I would go, well, this is what I think. And it would pretty much all the time be different. And she would say to me, why do you do that to me? And it wasn't that I was trying to set her up. I just wasn't trying to influence her with my opinion. But what I have found since is the way this works really well is that I share my opinion first, and then I say, what do you think? And when we started doing it that way, everything started working out fine in these conversations. So that's the way I think it works in life, is that if there's a conversation going on, I'm going to do my best to be the last one to share an opinion so that I give everybody a free chance to do that, unless I'm trying to create agreement. If I'm trying to create agreement, I'll speak up and say, this is what I think, and ask if there's a way that we can agree to that. And if not, that's fine too. I found that mostly with Barbara's son, Matthew, is that the best way to create an agreement with him was to share what I thought and then ask for it. And if he said, no, I don't agree to that, we knew exactly where we were. There was none of that shaking of a head yes, meaning only that he heard what I wanted, but wasn't by any means going to do it. And once we figured that out, that stopped too. Agreements are amazing things, and we should all use them in all of our relationships, but we do it openly, sharing what it is that's important to us, not to diminish someone else's, but to certainly know where we stand. I want to make sure that I got my points complete on that. Yep, I did. Okay, we can move on to number 4. I never say anyone is wrong. Boy, this was a lesson we learned early on. There's no reason to make somebody wrong. How could somebody be wrong? They can only be wrong by my perception. And that's not big enough to make somebody wrong. So I never tell anybody they're wrong, especially Barbara. And she never tells me I'm wrong. In fact, we got to a place in our relationship where if one of us was acting contrary to the other, and the other one said, that's a bad idea, whichever of us was caught in that moment would turn to the other and say, excuse me, are you making me wrong? Oh, no, I would never do that. Can you hear this is mostly me having to say that last part? But what it does is it allows you to have an opinion without having to be challenged about it. It doesn't matter if people have different opinions, if people see things different. Don't make anybody wrong. It doesn't help. It doesn't work. When we have a difference, well, that's actually a different one here. By making somebody wrong, you're actually trying to elevate yourself above them again. And anytime we do that, we lose our connection. And we can't keep it open, keep the conversation and the communication open when we make someone wrong. We've judged them now. And everyone would see themselves as attached to their opinion. And that's neither here nor there. The idea, though, is that when we make somebody wrong, that's a judgment and it holds us back. Yes, we don't keep score. This is something we learned early on. And how many times have you heard this from someone who's lamenting about the dysfunction of their relationship? I do all these things for them, and they can't do blah, blah. No. If you do all these things for them, celebrate the fact that you're generous and that you're willing to contribute to this relationship. If you have something you would desire from that other person, ask for it. But don't make them wrong. And don't keep score about all the things you've done that they don't do. It's a slippery slope. And when you get into that game, it wears on a relationship. It wears a relationship out. There's no score taking here. There's just being present and generous and in that loving connection with that other person. That's what it's about. Yes. And this kind of continues on from the wrong thing. The idea that we have to be okay with our differences. And I have to tell you that being in relationship with Barbara, so much of what we think is similar that we didn't find differences for a while. And then we did. And that's okay. It's okay. In fact, sameness is not oneness. We teach oneness here. Oneness is important. But you don't have to be the same to be in a state of oneness. When we are all the same, it's easy, but it's also pretty boring. It's actually our differences that makes life interesting. And I have heard from some people that they were drawn into a relationship because of differences. And after being in the relationship for a while, those differences started grating on them. Well, the thing to do with that is to continue celebrating your differences no matter what. And one great way to do it is to do it out loud. I love the way you do so-and-so. I love the way that you do this different than I do it. I find it fascinating and interesting. Anything like that works. It's good to be different. And it's good to celebrate those differences and be okay with them. I believe that the being aware of the divine presence, the oneness that we are, and still accepting the ways that we're different, and we all are, is a skill to master in life, in a primary relationship and in every relationship. There are all kinds of ways that we can demonstrate our differences, and there's nothing wrong with any of them. In fact, they're some of the greatest blessings in our lives. So when you're kind of taken back by someone being different than you, find a way to see God in the midst of that, and let it be okay. And that's in a primary relationship and in a relationship with anyone in your life, especially your children. Okay, differences. Number 7, my intention is to always create value. And this has been my calling all along. But being with Barbara has enhanced that so greatly in my world, that we have both been on such a journey of creating value in the world by touching hearts and lives, your hearts and lives, and all those thousands of people that will watch this and find some value in it. That is just such a deeply important thing to us. Of course, we didn't know when we started this center on a farm out in Fairview, North Carolina, that we were going to have the opportunity to touch all the lives that we have. And I'll give Devon Embler's vision complete credit for that. And because of that, we truly do touch thousands of lives every week, making a difference in the world, in people around the globe, which just fills me with so much gratitude. So we have found our purpose together, and we have created that. And nothing has changed it, and nothing ever will. We've done this good work. And my life is so rewarding to me because of that. And I'm not sure that I would have found this without Barbara. I mean, obviously that was our destiny to be together, so it's not a big deal that we would have done that. Yet it is. It's something that I have to be deeply grateful for. And speaking of that very thing, our website, I'm delighted to report to you that we had an amazing year in 2019. We had 1.1 million pages opened on our website, along with all the other statistics we got. That caused a lot of people to take notice. But just last week, Devon presented our board with the numbers for 2020. We're up 25% in 2020. We're touching the world, I'm telling you. So we're going to keep doing it, at least for now, because it's working. And as long as it's working, how do you not do this? So have an intention in your relationship. That may not be your intention, but whatever it is, make sure it's obvious to you and the one that you love. And use it as a tool to enhance your relationship. I love to acknowledge people, but Barbara and I have just gotten crazy about this in a wonderful way. And the best acknowledgement I know is to say, I love you. And although I don't believe there's an exchange of love, when I say that, what I'm saying is I'm aware of love every time I look at you. So I say I love you to her, I don't know, 1,000 times a day. And she always says it back, or she says it first. And we just keep going. In fact, I have a different way that I found, a clever way that I like to say this to her. So somewhere during the day, I'll look at her with kind of a quizzical look on my face and say, have I told you today how much I love you? And her answer is always, aw, I love you too. And that just keeps it alive in us, and it keeps those heartstrings growing. But I don't limit this to Barbara. You may have noticed I tell you I love you every Sunday that you're here. I love you even if you're not here, but I'm really glad when you are. And just to explain, this is nothing that we don't do with one another. The man that took the lead of building this facility His name is John Gustafson. If there was ever a guy that was just totally a guy, macho kind of guy, it's John. Every time we talk on the phone, we tell each other that we love one another. And we mean it. So I invite you to say that as often as you can, to as many folks as you can, so that you can remember all of these incredible heart connections in your life, so that you can have that richness, because those connections create a life filled with richness. And the last one. The quality of my life is up to me. It always has been, it always will be. Barbara is not required to make me happy. And I am not required to make her happy, which frees us to be in this joyous, happy relationship every day. Now, I don't want to tell you if I've figured this out completely. The one thing that I do not have a handle on yet is when Barbara is in physical pain. I haven't learned how to make that all right. And I want you to know right now, I probably never will. And that's got to be okay. She tolerates it. And she knows that it just means that I'm there for her and with her. And no matter what we go through, no matter what's ahead, we're in this together. So it's nice when we don't have to get in that space with other people, that we don't have to take on their burdens, their challenges. It's best if we don't do that, and if we simply love them. If we can do that, that's probably the best way to do it. But sometimes maybe we just get a little hooked, and it's okay, because life goes on, and it's okay. So those are the things that came to me in preparation for my sharing with you this morning. And because it's Valentine's Day, I want to profess my love to this one. You're the love of my life. And you have been the richest gift I've ever known since the day we met. And it's only gotten stronger and better from day one, and it always will grow stronger, even when I don't have any idea how it can. And I want to take some words from a poet. Let's see, I've got to remember his name. So apparently that's not that important. I thought, okay, it is Alfred Lord Tennyson, who wrote the words, "If I had a flower for every time I think of you, I would be in my garden forever. I love you, and I love you." Happy Valentine's Day.